Broadcasting live from somewhere in the Shadow Realm, this is YuGiOh Duel Links Talk. Here's your host, Doug Dimmaduel.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of YuGiOh Duel Links Talk. Well, just recently, Super Joey made his way back into Duel World and was leaving a few good presents around for those of us who were actually lucky enough to catch a few of his drops. And I know they seemed very few and far between with some of the cards that were potentially available for drops. I know you had the Divine Knight Izark, the level 6 warrior with 2300 attack, 1800 defense. I didn't get a single one in the drops, and I played Super Joey quite a bit. You also had the Meteor Dragon Red Eyes Impact that was also available for how many times you play against and or beat Joey. I can't remember what the exact thing was, but if you're able to get a copy of that, that was fantastic. I didn't get any drops of it though, but I did get the one that was pretty much a given. But then also, too, you had the Red Eyes Insight, one of the more sought-after cards that were within the level 40 Joey drops. This card was just, this card's a beast for strategy, and that's what I want to get into today, is just building a Joey Wheeler deck based off of some of these cards. Now, I was lucky enough to actually get two of these. Do I expect to get a third one? Absolutely not, because I know how darn difficult it is to actually get some of these drops from Super Joey. It seemed to be a pretty low drop rate. And of course you had the Red Eyes Spirit Trap card, which was also one that you can get based on how many times you play against Joey or how many times you win against Joey over the course of the event. But the Red Eyes Spirit, I didn't get one of those drops either, but I did get two the last time he was there. So now I do finally have a total of 3 Red Eyes Spirits. So this kind of got me thinking, let's see what kind of deck we could actually put together that could make Joey just a little bit more competitive now that we got some of these really good Red Eyes support cards. I know there's a lot out there. I know it seems like the new Red Eyes decks are really taking over the Legend level PvP matchups, the Platinum PvP matchups, even some of the King of Games stuff. Now, I noticed that there's a lot of different variations of the Red Eyes decks. I know there's supposed to be a really, really good combo that involves the Zombie Red Eyes and the Gozuki and all these different zombie pieces. But today we're just going to focus on just a pure Red Eyes Dragon deck and just see some of the pieces that you could use to just build one of your more basic Red Eyes with this additional support. And you'll see that the combo plays that you could get are actually really, really good. So basically what I first have here is, I do run a copy of Dark Flare Dragon. It's a level 5 dragon, 2400 attack, 1200 defense. This was one that you were able to get from the Mokuba event, and Mokuba was dropping a few of these. This is the ultra rare card that was in that Mokuba event. But the reason why I like this card is because it's actually both of its effects. But its first effect is that you can special summon this card from your hand by banishing 1 light and 1 dark monster from your graveyard. Once per turn, you can send 1 dragon type monster from your hand and 1 dragon type monster from your deck to the graveyard. Then target 1 card in either graveyard and banish that target. So the reason why I really like this effect is not just because it also helps you remove monsters from your opponent's graveyard that maybe you don't want, because it seems like reanimation is the go-to thing right now. But also the other big thing is that you're able to send basically any dragon monster from your deck to the graveyard. So this can actually set you up really, really nicely to either put a Red Eyes Black Dragon in the graveyard that you want because you're going to run a combo play with your Red Eyes Spirit if you have some of those, or even a Dragon's Rebirth. Any card like that to get your Red Eyes Black Dragon onto the field even sooner. Dark Flare Dragon is one of those many methods to make that happen. And the other thing too is if you have a Red Eyes in your hand and you just want to get it on the field, run this card as well. I run 3 copies of Kid Mono Dragon. This was another one of those Mokuba drop cards. It's a dragon where if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 dragon type monster from your hand. You cannot special summon monsters except dragon type monsters, nor conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this effect, and you can only use this effect of Kid Mono Dragon once per turn. So, if you have a Red Eyes Black Dragon in your hand and you're not trying to do a combo play out of the graveyard, just send a Kid Mono Dragon from your deck to the graveyard. Its effect will activate, and then you're able to special summon your Red Eyes Black Dragon onto the field. The one drawback is that you can't enter the battle phase, but either way, if you're trying to just fill your field with, if you already have a Dark Flare Dragon, activating its effect to get that Kid Mono Dragon to the graveyard, you're going to have at least 2 2400 level attack monsters on the field. And that's even without if you're using peak performance with Seto Kaiba, then they're sitting at 2,600 attack apiece. So, I mean, you already got some pretty good attack monsters out there on the field. So what's the other more common monster that I see being run with Red Eyes Black Dragon decks is Vanguard of the Dragon. It's the level 4 dragon, 1,700 attack, 1,300 defense. You can send one dragon type monster from your hand to the graveyard, and this card gains 300 attack. When this card you control is sent to your graveyard by your opponent's card effect, you can target one dragon type normal monster in either player's graveyard and special summon that target. So I like this one too because I kind of see myself running up against a lot of dragon type decks as well. So if they're sitting with a Red Eyes or a Blue Eyes in their graveyard and they end up destroying my Vanguard of the Dragon with an effect, well, then I can end up just taking one of their monsters out of the graveyard. But here's the basic combo play. This is the one that you'll be using more often. Is hopefully you have one of your 3 Red Eyes Black Dragons in your hand. You activate Vanguard of the Dragon's effect to send your Red Eyes to the graveyard. You could either, if you already have it on the field, use your Red Eyes Spirit to get your Red Eyes Black Dragon back out onto the field, while having your Vanguard already boost up to at least a 2,000 attack, let alone 2,200 if you're using peak performance. But yeah, you could either do that, or hopefully have your Vanguard of the Dragon being destroyed by an opponent's card effect, thus ending up resummoning your Red Eyes Black Dragon back out onto the field. So, and usually you can end up putting your opponent in that situation where they really have no choice but to destroy your Vanguard using card effects, if you're just totally overpowering them with your Vanguard's attack. So if you end up sending more than one dragon to the graveyard, boosting Vanguard's attack to, hey, maybe say 2,300 or 2,500 with peak performance, maybe your opponent's going to want to use some kind of Yomi ship or something along those lines to destroy your Vanguard. And then you can get your Red Eyes Black Dragon back out onto the field. So that's a really good combo play. That's one that's used more often than not. There was one additional support card that was in Crimson Kingdom, and that's Red Eyes Wyvern, the level 4 dragon with 1,800 attack and 1,600 defense. During your end phase, if you did not normal summon or set a monster this turn, you can banish this card from your graveyard and special summon one Red Eyes monster from your graveyard, except Red Eyes B Chick. So this card just is really good, and you could find a way to send it to the graveyard by either using your Vanguard or by using your Dark Flare, or even by using Red Eyes Insight, because it requires you to send one Red Eyes monster to the graveyard. So yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of ways you can get your Red Eyes Wyvern into your graveyard and just create another way for you to summon a Red Eyes monster from your graveyard. So I only have one copy of this card. If I had more than one, maybe I would be more inclined to put some of those Red Eyes zombie type dragon monsters into the graveyard, because at least what this does is it allows you to summon one Red Eyes monster. It doesn't say that you have to summon a normal Red Eyes or a normal dragon type monster. It's just any Red Eyes monster. So at least that way you could either use your Red Eyes Black Dragon or your Red Eyes Zombie Dragon if you're running that type of deck. The other card that I like to use is Hieratic Dragon of Nuit, the level 4 dragon, 1,700 attack, 900 defense. That's in the Dragonic Force structure deck you could actually pick up from the card trader. I like this one because it helps you get a Red Eyes onto the field. Okay, so basically once per turn during either player's turn, when this face-up card on the field is targeted by a spell card, trap card, or card effect, special summon one dragon type normal monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard and make its attack and defense 0. So this is basically a way that you can get one of your Red Eyes out of your deck, or even back out of your graveyard onto the field, sitting in defense position or attack position, depending on what you're trying to do with different combo plays, and make something happen that way. So you could end up targeting it with one of your own spell cards or trap cards, or even if one of your opponent's effects end up affecting your Dragon of Nuit as well. So there are multiple ways you could take advantage of this. It's got a really good effect built in, so I end up using this guy. It's actually got me some pretty good plays, at least getting some Red Eyes if my hand isn't really bringing in as many Red Eyes, the Black Dragons, as I really wanted. I'll be able to get one onto the field pretty easily this way. So basically, we got so many different methods of searching and or sending your Red Eyes Black Dragons to the graveyard to potentially create some combo plays. So let's get into the spells and trap cards. The first one is the one that I mentioned earlier with Joey's drops. It's the Red Eyes Insight. This is the new one. This is just the one of the better support cards out there right now for especially the Red Eyes stuff. You send one Red Eyes monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard and add one Red Eyes spell or trap card from your deck to your hand, except Red Eyes Insight. You can only activate one Red Eyes Insight per turn. So the combo play that you want to do is you activate this card, send a Red Eyes Black Dragon, probably from your deck most likely, to the graveyard, and then you're able to search out one of your Red Eyes Spirit Trap cards. Then you're able to set it, and then within that next turn you activate it and get your Red Eyes onto the field, hopefully before your opponent tries to do anything funny. So Red Eyes Spirit, that's the trap card here where you target one Red Eyes monster in your graveyard, except Red Eyes B Chick, and special summon it. So this doesn't just mean that you could bring out a Red Eyes Black Dragon. You could also bring out a Red Eyes Wyvern, anything Red Eyes, or any type of Red Eyes, the Red Eyes Zombie Dragon, anything along those lines. You could get them out onto the field that way. So that's the combo play that you want to set up. You want to use your Red Eyes Insight to then search out your Red Eyes Spirit, and from there you bring your Red Eyes out of the graveyard and back onto the field. Boom, you totally bypass having to tribute summon. It's really good, and it's a great way to load the field with some pretty strong monsters. You can also run some generic spells and traps in here too, like your typical enemy controller or something along those lines, or your Champion's Vigilance, anything like that. That is just your general good support card. You can go with those. But also too, you could also run a copy of Cards of the Red Stone. You send one level 7 Red Eyes monster from your hand to the graveyard and draw 2 cards. Then you can send one level 7 Red Eyes monster from your deck to the graveyard. You can only activate 1 Cards of the Red Stone per turn. I like this card because it allows you some draw power, and typically you may end up with more than 1 Red Eyes in an opening hand. If you have your Cards of the Red Stone, you're able to send one to the graveyard, maybe send another one to the deck, and hopefully get more than 1 monster onto the field that way. But then also get some draw power out of it. You get to draw 2 cards, and that's one of the better ways to get through your resources is a card like this. And this card is exclusively for Red Eyes decks, but it is just an overwhelmingly powerful spell card when used properly. So yeah, this is just a really good card. And the last one that I like to use is another card that's out of the Dragonic Force structure deck, and that's Dragon's Rebirth. This is the rare trap card that is you get 1 copy of each in each of the structure decks. So if you get multiple copies of the structure deck, you will get multiple copies of Dragon's Rebirth. But this does act kind of similar to the Red Eye Spirit card, but it requires you to banish a monster. So basically what it does is you target 1 Dragon-type monster you control, banish that target, and if you do, special summon 1 Dragon-type monster from your hand or graveyard. So with all these monsters that you're putting into the graveyard, and potentially you'll have some high-level monsters in your hand, Dragon's Rebirth is one of the best ways right now to get a dragon monster of a high level onto the field rather quickly. So now between this card, Dragon's Rebirth, and between their Red Eye Spirit Trap card, there are just so many ways for you to just flood the field with Red Eyes monsters. So overall, you could see how this deck has kind of taken the meta by storm, and it's not, and not specifically this one. This one's just more your bare bones Dragon Red Eyes deck, but you can see the potential for just big play opportunities. The more that people experiment and play around with these Red Eyes deck builds, as long as you have the right support, like Red Eyes Spirit and Red Eyes Insight, the more you get these support cards out, just the better these decks are getting. So that's just kind of this is just kind of the setup in a nutshell. I've been having a lot of fun playing this deck. I'm not really using it too much in a competitive environment, although it does really, really well holding its own. But yeah, this one is just another really good deck. I was always a fan of the Red Eyes Black Dragon archetype, and I've always liked the Joey Wheeler type decks, and that was one of the first things that got me back into the TCG, was rediscovering all the new Red Eyes support. So it's just kind of nice to see it in Duel Links. It's a lot of the same cards that I've been playing within the TCG, so yeah, just a lot of good stuff. But anyway, if you have anything similar as far as Red Eyes Black Dragon builds, or anything that you've been having a lot of success with that revolve around a lot of these Red Eyes support cards, I'd really like to hear about your experience with it and some of your deck builds. I'd like to hear them, so feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at YuGiOh Deck Talk. It's all one word, at YuGiOh Deck Talk, and I'd love to bring this topic back up in a future podcast episode. So anyway, that's it for today's episode. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Take care.